Hello everybody, Ray Garner with Garner's Games, here to do my weekly comic review. This time we're going on an adventure. Dungeons and Dragons by Dark Horse Comics. This is written by Greg Pak and artist by Wilton Santos. And it starts off in a town with a little kobold begging. And he's right off the bat, starts being ordered by the town guards. There's no begging inside the city limits, and no kobolds. And he runs into a little pointy-eared girl, talking about how much she hates it here. And we meet our little heroes. This is our D&D group. Leader group is Tessalinde. I think that's how you pronounce it. She is a rogue and she is the leader. Our cleric is Baldric. And we also have a wizard named Kazrin. I think that's pronounced. It's Cazrin. And our happy little rogue is going to offer the kids some copper. And she's like, no, silver. And the cleric points out that, well, they kind of went to a card room in the tavern and pretty much lost all their money. And as this is debating going on, Papa shows up, running from the guards. And she's basically like, hey, this ain't our problem. And our wizard, Catherine, notices the wanted poster for the dad, Cobalt, and that there's a reward. And she's like, oh, okay. Now it's a problem. Then we meet our next member of the group, a somewhat domesticated, never can pronounce these quite right, Atug. It's Atyugh. It's the monster's name. But he goes by Oogie. And as they're trying to flee, he goes after him and she throws a dagger, which she basically teleports to the location of. Then we meet our fighter and I guess you'd say Beastmaster, Anson. It's kind of interesting. He wields a magical broken sword, which is kind of neat. And they find out the kobolds are stealing food. And as the guards are coming up to arrest them, they're kind of feeling bad, arresting kids stealing food. So now we get our last member of the group who shows up, and that's Lark, our little bard, right here. And as he performs a song and Catherine casts some magic, it allows the kobolds to sneak away from the guards. And they're quite upset. And I do like this little exchange where it's like, if it hadn't been for you, miserable clown, Bard's like, Bard, actually. Clowning is its own proud profession. I've taken some classes, but of course, I just wouldn't presume to. And of course, the guard immediately cuts him off, like, kobolds serve an evil dragon. Aren't you supposed to be heroes? And at that point, we hear somebody else off panel say, come on now, they're just adventurers. We're the heroes. And now we meet our main character's main rival. Angril. I think that's how it's pronounced. Angrillyne. And apparently they both went through the same training, and she has basically one-upped her every step of the way. And then they immediately start showing off her group's abilities. wizard who makes a earth golem, just drew a blank on him, an Asimar cleric, and they very quickly, capture the kobolds for the town. And they point out they don't have a bard because they don't need a bard because the people sing their praises. So we kind of fast forward a little bit here. They go to the local tavern, get them some drinks, and get Uggy a box of scraps. And she reveals that she has gotten a map. And it takes magic to reveal it, but there's a treasure involved. Because, of course, there is. And they're going to, of course, go get said treasure. But Lind is very interested in knowing Tessalinda's story between her and her rival. And he initially she refuses to tell him. And that kind of is a little running gag for a little bit. Until we get to some zombies guarding the tomb, which Uggy very quickly takes care of. They pretty much just follow him in. And they get to the tomb, and they ask the cleric to say a little prayer before they do their grave robbing. And he sounds like a pretty nice one. Only for the kobolds to arrive. And immediately attack the party since, his kids had gotten captured. And as they're fighting, one of my favorite monsters in D&D, Cavern Crawler, shows up. And by working together, the party and the kobolds are able to take it down. And so they agree to split the treasure. And as they're going outside, the amulet that our bard picks up starts going to the point that it's burning or freezing. You can't tell which. And he's like, what the devil? And she looks at it like, not a devil, it's a dragon. And about that time, our happy little rival shows up. Basically saying that they're going to arrest them because they're traitors, and not for robbing the tomb, because they also conspired with the kobolds. And as we're going here, they realize that the freezing amulet has summoned a white dragon. And of course, she saves her rival there, because everybody else is ducking behind the rock. This is a fun little romp. It reminds me, the main party reminds me a lot of how a lot of times D&D parties don't always work well together, but they manage to get the job done. And there's a little bit of, inefficiency when you have a good role-playing group going. So this feels like I'm reading an adaptation of somebody's D&D group, so I really appreciate that. The names are unnecessarily long at times, but that's also part of D&D. But if you like D&D, this is a fun read. If you like action adventure, kind of fantasy-based stories, this is also a good read. I kind of want to do something that wasn't so superhero-ish, because I've had a lot of superhero reviews here lately. So if you want something a little bit off the beaten path, if you play D&D, if you enjoy fantasy movies, pick this book up. It's really cool. It's from Dark Horse, and give it a try. I think you'll like it. Until next week, see you then.